All right, let's get to it. A brand new episode of the My Carrera podcast. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, follow, whatever it is. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube. Hit that thumbs up. You know the drill. Appreciate that. My guest this week is an amazing artist, the Rev from the band The Drowns. MxPx has played with them in Tacoma. It was great. We're going to hear about his humble beginnings. We're going to hear about the artistic process that The Drowns have really been focused on. They have a new album coming in the fall, recorded in Fort Collins, Colorado, with you might know who. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about life and about our palace. You'll hear a little bit about the palace today. Great conversation. Had a blast. So thanks for tuning in. Before we get there, MxPx.com. We got merch. We got vinyl. We have hoodies, T-shirts, a bunch of different gadgets, including, steak seasoning. It's a crazy place. MxPx.com. Also have shows coming up at the end of this month in March, next month, all of it. So we're going to be starting off at the 9:30 Club on the 27th, I think, of March. That's a Thursday night. MxPx and the Ataris. And then the next night, Norfolk, Virginia at the NorVa. And then Saturday night, Charlotte, North Carolina. We'll see Bob, the producer, there. It's at the Fillmore. And then Charleston Music Hall on Sunday night. That's the last Sunday of this month. We'll see you there. It's going to be awesome. And then April 11th in Denver, MxPx, Goldfinger, Zebrahead, and Homegrown at the Mission Ballroom, April 11th. That's a Saturday night. We'll see you there. I'm getting prepared. I'm going to be training for that thing. If you haven't already heard, MxPx is going to be at every single Vans Warped Tour this year. So we're going to be in Washington, D.C. We're going to be in Long Beach, California, Orlando, Mexico City, Montreal, Quebec. All right, you guys, it's going to be epic. All right, let's get Rev on here. I'll stop blabbing about it, but thanks for being part of this. All right, let's go. Welcome to it. Welcome to Bremerton, Rev.
Dude, I'm so stoked to be here. I'm so insanely stoked to be here.
Yeah, it's we talked about this a while back. It just never happened. So
yeah,
welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's I wanted to start this off by saying thank you for always being so supportive and a great buddy. But I also wanted to say, so we can cut. No one has to say it in the comments. I'm not Yuri, and Yuri's fine. The last time we talked, there were so many comments where people were like, "Is Yuri okay?" Or I didn't know Yuri had all those tattoos.
Yuri's okay.
Yeah, he's gonna be fine.
That's funny. Yuri's got one tattoo.
What is it? Is it good?
It's a poking at your punk, right on his arm.
Nice.
Yeah, like a sailor.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, he was like, I got to get one in the most traditional spot ever.
Exactly. Yeah. So good. So we could talk about everything today, but I really want to talk about The Drowns. I want to talk about the momentum you guys have really had. I don't know, the last half decade has been insane. You've been really pushing hard.
Yeah.
At least it feels like it.
Yeah, you're right. It's one of those things, I was in, but I was in a bunch of other bands for folks who don't know. For years, I was a hired gun for a long time. I did a lot of guitar teching for our buddies at Meloncolin and Juliette Lewis and some really great folks. And I've been around for a long time. But when I started this band with my friends, all of our bands had kind of ended at the same time, and we were all in the same boat where we were like, man, it's time. It's time to give it everything or to back out and do something else,
Yeah.
And so in a weird kind of kismet way, the timing worked out for everybody. And since day one, shout out to Jake and Andy from my band, we've all stayed true to that. Mm-hmm. And one of those promises we made to each other was we'll say yes to every good opportunity and we'll build our lives around it. And it's funny because younger bands will be like, how did you get going in 7 years, do so much? And it's just that. Like, they never really want to hear that. But I'm like, we left everything behind for a while.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's the truth, right?
And we just pushed. Last year, we played almost 200 shows.
You have to be obsessed, right? You have to be obsessed about whatever it is you choose in life, I think.
Yeah.
Especially these days. I mean, it probably was always like that. 100 years ago, if you were going to get good at anything, you're going to be obsessed with it. how did you get into? So let's go back a little bit before we get into tons of Drown stuff, because there's a lots of the new album and whatever. But talk about your sort of like epiphany of like, I love rock and roll. I want to be an artist. I want to. This is my life now. Like, how do you become obsessed? Because somebody out there might be sitting at home like, I don't really feel that passion or whatever, but like, it usually comes in a moment. Or a series of moments.
Yeah, for sure. I was lucky enough to have parents who were huge fans. Like, my parents are massive music fans and always have been. Neither of them have any sort of musical talent. My mom played trombone in high school, but then neither of them can carry a tune in the slightest. And so it wasn't that. But they were fans. They were always fans. Like, we were going to concerts constantly when I was a kid. My first concert was I saw the Temptations when I was 8. And I didn't go like, that's what I want to do at that moment. But I do remember being like, that's their job. That's so cool.
The Temptations. Wow. That's old school. That's like...
Yeah. I mean, it makes me sound older than I am.
Yeah. They were already a little old by then.
Yeah. A couple of them may not have been with us. It was at Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia. My dad was in the Army. So I grew up in a military family. Okay. My formative years were here in at Enumclaw, which is where I'm from. At least I consider where I'm from. And so my parents were always fans, and they always encouraged me to get into music, but it wasn't like that kind of encourage. Like, it was always along with school. It was like, yeah, you're great at band, you're great at theater. I was a big theater guy. And they were like, but also do school. And I will say that I'm pretty sure everything aligned when I started to realize that I was no good in school and I was incredible at the arts. I got that. The only type of praise I ever got from people was either being on stage in theater or being on stage playing music. And that was the one for me where I was like, well, this feels natural. And that maybe sounds a little cheesy to be like, it felt like it was already there. Mm-hmm. But it just kind of awakened. I was like, oh, okay, well, this seems perfect. And I was just, to reference a friend I literally just talked to the other day, a friend from high school. She was like, you just kind of did everything you said you were going to do in high school. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, my 14-year-old dreams just kind of kept happening.
Yeah.
And, I'm in my 40s now. But it is always what I've wanted to do. And I wish I had a better answer for someone on how to get obsessed, because it's just kind of always been innate in me.
And you're thinking about it like, I could have been anything and I chose this.
Yeah, let's just shatter the fucking illusion right now.
Right.
No, I mean, I have such a privileged life. Like, I really do. And the arts have brought me so much. And, I did just buy a house. Let's get that out of the way. I did just get a house. My wife and I just got a house 15 minutes away from where we are right now, which is cool. Thank you. But am I killing it financially? No, I am not.
Right.
And I had an interview with someone recently who asked me about like how it feels that now that the Drowns are like getting bigger slots and bigger festivals, and in Europe and the UK we're doing really well. And I was like, she was like, how are the finances? Which is a tacky thing to ask someone in an interview. But also, I was like,
she was German? Was it?
I'm not going to say, but there's a reason why you made that assumption.
Sorry.
I got stories. But I was like, to be honest, I'm hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to this art that I love. So I will never technically make money, even if I crushed it right now. And years ago, the minute that I decided to not give a shit about that is when it became the best thing that's ever happened to me. So full circle. Yeah. That's probably a good thing to tell somebody who's just starting out, is like, you got to make it for you. If you're writing songs for other people, and I don't mean like as a job, I mean like if you're writing songs because you want people to like them, that's different. Like, you got to love the art that you're making first, and because it really shows and people can really tell. Like when you guys play, and how long has MxPx been around now?
I think it's 33.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Like when you guys play, you guys still love it. And that's one of the appealing things, not just for your fans, but just as a friend. Like, to watch you guys get on stage and still be stoked is, I think the authenticity really shows. And that's for someone starting out who wants to do this or wants to get into making art in general. Just make sure you're making it because you love it. That's the reason.
Yeah, there was an interview with Billy Corgan talking about how he was a millionaire at like 21 or something like that, and he's had all the accolades. He's been in the magazines and done the rock and roll thing and gone to the top multiple times, with different hits, and he's talking to his kids and just saying, like, honestly, no matter out of all of that, his family is more important to him. But you kind of got to get through all those beautiful moments to realize that sometimes. But truly, at the end of the day, and young people you don't have to listen to this because it won't apply to you yet, but eventually you're going to be like, none of this matters. Yeah, just my family. And it's true though.
100%.
And
100%.
whoever you call wherever your family is, just hearing that from Billy Corgan was just like, okay, this guy, he comes off as a little prickly pear sometimes, but there's some humanity right there. Like, wow. I loved hearing that from him because it's so true. It doesn't matter where you are. There's always somebody bigger.
Yep.
There's always somebody with more money.
Absolutely.
Bigger house, nicer property, whatever it is. You have to do it for you, like you said, and you have to you can't compare yourself to other people because, like you said, you're always going to lose.
Yeah, well, and it becomes a different fight at that point. You're not in it because you are in it. You're in it because the version of you that everybody else sees is in it. And I think the authenticity is that's what sells music to me, at least. That's why certain artists I love in the past were so lovable, is that it felt like it was everything inside of them. And I think making good art is letting people see a part of you that isn't always out there to the world.
Yeah.
It's like you're cutting a piece of you out and sending it out to the world. I don't remember who said it. I'm going to misquote.
That's interesting. I mean, you're right.
Yeah. But someone once said, once you share a song with someone else, it's not yours anymore. And that's the truth,
Yeah.
And, but right. I think the fact that you're doing that, the fact that you're sharing something that means so much to you, people can really tell when it means something to you. And if anybody wanting to get into this industry or getting into making music or songwriting, if they want any advice, it's write songs you love, and then just keep fucking doing it. Like,
yeah, talk to me about that whole rock star thing where, like, once you get so big and you're so rich, you can't make good music. Like, what is it about that,
Yeah.
Like, you're not on the drugs anymore. Whatever it is that got you that magic, that magic in a bottle in the first place.
Yeah, there's something to that, though, right? It's like,
it seems like it.
You know what I think it is? I think it's comfort. Mm-hmm. Once the comfort shows up, it feels like you don't have to fight for it anymore.
Right.
And
because there is like that. Like, it's this or nothing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When you're starting out, when you're
and
not doing well,
and finances aren't there, and you're like, to my music, arguably I lost a marriage years ago. Like, I've finances, like we talked about. It's like it has to be everything to you, and once it's not, and and other stuff is important, and I don't mean the family and stuff like that. I mean, like, the money, the income,
right,
and like. I've worked for some of the largest bands in the world too, like some from Seattle. You guys would know it's a very large band that was very huge in the 90s. I worked for years. And those guys, they're all great guys, but I always used to say to myself, I bet I'd be a great guy with a few $1 billion after everything I've been through. It's like, it's one of those things to where, like, you got to keep the fight in you. And that's why I think starting out with it being so important to you is that's like how you got to keep going. It's always got to be the thing. That,
I don't want to talk too much, but I wanted to say, like, maybe that's what the difference is when you're so comfortable, you're not spending every day working on your craft, writing new songs, writing what you're passionate about in life, because you're just chilling, you're like, I'll do that tomorrow, or we'll schedule the album, we'll schedule the songwriting session.
Yeah.
And then that becomes like, all right, write a song. You got 3 hours, and then you got to, go do other things that are more important than this,
Exactly.
So that's probably part of it too. Mm-hmm. Not just, the fact that the comfort gives you that, we'll just schedule this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just being able to put the brakes on is a difference from someone who's starving and hungry for it.
Yeah.
I still, to this day, the Drowns do really well, and it's a blessing, and we're sustainable, which is crazy for a band, but I write every day. whether I want to or not, it just like shows up and I don't ever stifle it. And I think that's the key.
Yeah.
At least for me too, as far as like being a songwriter, I have to keep the muscle like strong. Yeah, I write, I don't know, multiple songs a week, and you'll probably hear one of them a month, down the road. Like we'll probably use one song I write every couple weeks, but I have to keep the muscle going. Even if the songs are garbage, my cell phone is full of just the worst songs you've ever heard in your life. But it's because I was sitting there just being like, I have to write something today. I have to be creative today. Because I have this fear too that I'll lose it. And I think that's a big part of it too. It's like, it has been such a big part of my life for so long that I don't ever want it to go away now.
Yeah, it's like a muscle. You don't want to stop working out. Eminem talks about that a lot, where he's always got a notebook on him. He's always writing a cipher or some sort of rhyme, and it just he wants to be ready to freestyle at all times. And that's living. That's like keeping your whatever that hunger is that you have when you're starting out.
Yeah.
Eminem doesn't need to be doing that. He's rich, right?
I think he's fine.
Exactly, but the fact that he does, that's an artist.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cool to know too that even on that level, people feel the same way. That is cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're in the same boat as me, to where we've met a lot of our idols in this industry, and sometimes they're the raddest people ever, and sometimes they're not. And a lot of the raddest people ever still love this. You know what I mean? And that's what I started to realize, is that they if you just keep that love that when you were a kid, and you, like, for me, it was like the first Clash record. When I heard that, I was like, holy shit, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to sing songs that make people happy and or inspire people. I'm going to try to do that. If you can keep that same, even a little spark of that same feeling, people can tell. And it just keeps you authentic. And I think it keeps you, people would say keeps you young, but I think it keeps you in that, like, not allowing what we're discussing, like the getting old and all these other things taking priority, not allowing that to happen. I think it's all about just keeping the spirit alive.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, talking about the Drowns, you guys you're a singer, you're the main singer, but you're also, there's other vocals happening.
Yeah, me and Andy swap off,
So quite a lot. Has that always been like that?
Yeah, so Andy was in Success with me at the very end of that band, and Andy played keys in that band, and when Success broke up, just because, people had life happened.
Yeah.
I still love those guys to death. Huge shout out to those dudes. They're like the best dudes ever.
Success.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When that ended, I was like, well, I don't want to stop. I don't want to stop. I can't. Just to reiterate everything we just discussed.
Right.
I was like, I can't stop. And Andy was in the same boat. And Andy, when I first met our bass player, Andy, I was working at El Corazon as a bartender. And I don't remember who the artist was, but there was like a country artist who did an acoustic show, and all of the openers bailed. And last minute, the owner was looking for someone to fill that slot. And this scrawny little dude with like shaggy blonde hair played an acoustic set, and it was unreal. It was just fucking phenomenal. And it was last minute. He came and did it for no money. No one came to the show, and he killed it. And afterwards, we just started talking, and that's how we met. That was Andy. And I've always been a fan of his songwriting. And so I could have, like, I knew I wanted to start a new band and keep going, but I could have definitely done the same thing as Success, but I wanted to involve the element of Andy's vocals and songwriting in there and give him a little more space to flex, because he's a great, great songwriter.
Rad. Yeah, I mean, listening to the new record today, I was blown away by how poppy some of these songs are, how catchy, and I was like, have I not heard? Have they been doing this all along? I just haven't paid attention, because you guys are a tough band. It's very rock and roll. It's traditional in some ways, whatever traditional means to you. But I'm street punk kind of vibes. Yeah. So hearing that, I was like, okay, maybe that's just because after a while you just write some songs that are catchy. But you recorded with Bill Stevenson and Jason down in Colorado. Yeah. We're in Washington right now. Well, let's get into it, but I want to talk about the vocal thing. How you guys decide. I mean, maybe it's just as simple as I wrote this song, I'm going to sing it, or how you decide who does what. It
began that way, and it still is to an extent. But also, we have done in the past where one of us has written music but can't get a good hook, or a good melody, and so we'll give it to the other one. And we've also written songs for each other and been like I'll write a song, and if it's a little too, like as you said, he has a little more of the poppier kind of like power pop vibes to what he does. If I think the song needs to be cleaner vocally, because I mean, as everybody can tell, my voice is a little raspy.
It's a little it's a powerful voice, let's say.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, even when you're singing real low on some of these songs, it's just like your voice is boom like that. You're just singing quiet and low. It's just
for the recording nerds out there, the difference in the preamp between when he sang and when I sang on the record, Bill had to crank it one way and the other.
I bet.
But Andy is Andy's like traditionally trained as a vocalist.
Oh, he is? Okay.
I'm not in the slightest. I don't even warm up anymore.
You don't?
And well, the irony is I never lose my voice too. It's just I just kind of always sound like this, and I'm always loud.
It always sounds like you're about to, but you just never do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I've never smoked a cigarette too. That's the other one too.
Okay.
And I think that has a lot to do with it. I have taken care of my voice in that sense, and 6 years sober now has really helped too. Where my voice is, it's pretty. It bounces back really easily, which is great. But so I wanted Andy involved because he's a great songwriter, and we will bounce back and forth as on vocals on some songs. And but I think we both kind of know whether it's subject matter or melody driven who should sing it, and we're real flexible on that. There's no like the other thing about my band is the egos are just not there, and that's insanely helpful. Having been in bands in the past that have had issues with that, I feel very fortunate that like we just don't even involve that. The fights we have would make people laugh because they're like awkward disagreements, and then we both cry and hug, and like, but it's never even like a big fight. Like, so all of us are very open when it comes to the artistic process and being like, maybe you should sing that, or I would feel comfortable going, hey, that song you're doing, I think I would sing it better, and Andy would be like, yeah, let's try it. Like, I guarantee that's what he would say.
Always try it. I mean, if you have a band that they're willing to just at least try something, that's huge. Because a lot of people are just like, I ain't doing that.
I've played with so many musicians who are so set in their ways. I will name no names.
Yeah,
I have played. There's some guys too that like, I know guys that wouldn't even like. I played with a drummer once who, and it's not Dave Casey from Success, who's one of my best friends. Love you, Dave. But I played with this drummer once who. He wouldn't even, if I was like, hey man, can you do 16 notes on the ride? He'd be like, no, this is what I wrote. And that did not last very long.
Yeah, that's rough, man. I can imagine Yuri's like, no.
yeah, Yuri just like the nicest dude ever, just stonewalls you. I would love if he did it as Yuri, when you watch this, do it as a joke now.
Yeah,
He does it right next. Just be like, no, don't tell me what to do, Mike.
Too good. All right, well, I mean, you guys got a new record out. I mean, you for the fans out there, they're going to be excited because it sounds great. And I don't want to say too much about it.
No, it's okay. Yeah,
but you do have a new record.
Yeah, what's cool is so like I okayed it with management.
I guess,
and we can talk about it today. Yeah, the record comes out in the fall.
Okay.
It's going to be on Pirates Press because we're going to keep putting out records with that label until they tell us we can't, because they're like the greatest people in the world. We went to Fort Collins and made it with Bill Stevenson, the legend from The Descendants, for those of you who don't know, the drummer for The Descendants, and also a guy who's recorded some of my favorite records of all time. It was a crazy experience. We worked with Jason Livermore, who had mastered some of our stuff before, but he was way more involved on this one, and it was awesome.
Yeah, Bill's awesome. I got to say, there's one quote from Bill when he recorded our At the Show live album. Mm-hmm. We were setting up gear and he's setting up mics and stuff, and he asked Yuri, he's like, Yuri, what do you quest for in a snare sound? What do you quest for? Which is so allular.
That's like the way Gandalf would ask you.
Like, he talks the way he writes. Wow. Yeah, they're great.
You know what? I don't want to like. I don't know. I think I can talk about this. He told me he writes most of his songs on ukulele, and that blew my mind.
That must be a newer thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it has to be, because it used to be guitar. He would.
He said him and Milo write most of their songs on ukulele.
Wow.
Which is, I bet there's a simplicity to that because it strips a lot away. It's just it's like root notes, like it's real simple chords at that point.
Right.
So I bet you had the flair later, but yeah, that blew me away to where I was like, what? Ukulele, really?
Guess we'll see what happens on this new record they got coming. That's got a ukulele vibe to it. I just can't place my finger on it.
Everything tastes like Milo goes to Maui.
Yeah.
But it was cool because I'm a huge fan too.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if it works, it works. I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it was cool to record with Bill just for status alone because the guy's made so many great albums, but also in the genre that we're both a part of. I mean, Bill's a legend. He's done so much and he's done so many amazing records. And like, it was cool. I texted you. It was cool to see you guys on the wall at the blasting room, which if anyone gets a chance to record at the blasting room, go do it because it's phenomenal and it's such a cool experience. We brought some friends in too. You and I haven't talked about this yet.
Oh, okay.
So on a song called Third and Pike on the record, we brought Matt Hensley, played accordion. Matt from Flogging Molly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's such a great guy. And then there's a song called Vengeance that's a very angry song that I wrote. That's very, it's like fast.
That stuck out to me. Yeah. I was like, I don't want to meet this guy in a dark alley. Like,
it's like, I mean, it's one of those. It's so funny because I definitely take a step back sometimes and I go, is this too angry? But what I do is I think about, well, where's that anger coming from? And in this one, it's me being mad at the current state of things, and and some issues with politics, and so that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah.
But on that song, I was like, dude, we need a shreddy solo, and I'm not a shredder. I come from like a country and jazz background as a guitar player, so I called Zach Blair from Rise Against and was like, hey, Zach, you're one of the greatest guitar players I know. Could you please play on this? And he was super cool about it. And so that gnarly shredding solo, I hate to ruin the facade on that, but it's not me.
That's Zach.
I needed him so bad.
Shout out Zach. Shout out Pirates Press from earlier.
Yeah.
I love that label. They're great people. I don't even know them personally. I just from everything I've ever seen and heard.
Dude, they're just the nicest. They're so cool. Like, people ask me about them all the time, like other bands, but also just people in general, because they see us post about how anytime we're in the Bay Area, we go and stay at the headquarters. They have a place where they put bands up, and it's really nice. Excuse me. And they have this massive like warehouse, and they have pinball machines, which I love to death, and so that's great. But they're just great people who still actually care.
Yeah, and that's probably why they're so great, is because they care. Yeah,
for a label, it's like they actually give a shit still. And a lot of people wouldn't know unless they're in the industry, but a lot of the money's gone because nobody's buying CDs anymore. You know what I mean? Like nobody's selling 3 million units of CDs, like in the opening month or whatever. It's like those days are gone. And so a lot of the money has changed where it comes from and how it gets there. And then a lot of labels are just closing down or liquidating a lot of their assets.
If you don't got money to pay bots to play your records, then you're not going to get paid.
I don't have that
money. No, that's very expensive. Believe me. We don't have that money either. It's pretty obvious. But I mean, that's the thing, is like being real is something that is hard to find in this world. Mm-hmm. So if you find a real label, that's even harder. A label that's real. Yeah. So
I was on the phone with Skip, the owner, this morning, and literally just checking in because he's one of my favorite people in the world. And that's different too. I've been in a lot of situations with different labels where I can't trust the people who do have control over a lot of my art, and that's scary. Also, things like getting rights and things like that, it becomes these like, we're from Seattle, or I'm from Seattle. It's like all these, I could throw a rock and hit somebody who was fucked by a major label in the 90s, It's like, and it's that situation. Can I cuss? I actually, I'm so sorry.
Yes, you can.
I didn't even ask you.
It's not on the radio or FCC or anything. We're
okay, good. I don't know where YouTube's at right now. But it's one of those to where, like, I know so many people who've been screwed by labels that it is a scary thing. And I've been in a position where people have had control over things I didn't want them to have. And with Pirates, it's literally never been like that. And everything's on the table. And they're, like, I know everyone who works there. There's not a single person who works there that I don't know. They're the greatest people ever. And if a band does get a chance to work with that label, I will always back it. They also give us creative control, and they are because they're a vinyl pressing company also. Mm-hmm. They have tons of options as far as like what you want to do with packaging, which is, as a record collector, is really important to me. And so it's the perfect fit for the Drowns for a lot of reasons, but the main one is that they're the best people ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love to hear that. I mean, most companies you hear about just have like a board that are like, or they have like, you know, their investors, and it's like a public company, and they're only like really looking to make profit, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's why when these small companies that are great get bought up by these bigger companies, all of a sudden they're not cool anymore. Well, it's not because they're not trying. It's because everything is completely changed in the background that people don't see. All you see is that brand label or this or that. So yeah, I mean, getting to meet real people that actually are there day to day, paying attention to what's happening. I mean, let's hold on to that. I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say. Let's hold on to those beautiful, those people, those organizations that are actually doing it for real.
Yeah, well, and I think, you know, that's one of the beauties about being in like punk related music is a lot of the assholes kind of get weeded out just naturally by what we do, and
I don't know about that.
Well, that's valid. I think sooner or later they
sooner or later, maybe.
But it is one of those things to where like I like the idea that I can call anyone who works at that record label at any time of day and they'll pick up, and it doesn't have to be about my band. If like let's say I was struggling, I could call anyone on the label. Think about that.
That's
all
wild.
of the people who work there.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that they'd be there for me, and that's a crazy thing to have in a business relationship. You know what I mean? I can't think of too many businesses I've ever been involved in where I trust people that much.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. I can't either.
It's a blessing. It's a real blessing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So Zach came in and shredded, or he just sent it over?
Yeah, we sent it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sent it to him. And Zach's been a friend for years, and I've been a fan of his for so long, and like, you know, he's a buddy. I don't want to nerd out too hard on him, but I loved Hagfish. I'm a massive Hagfish fan, and I feel like nobody ever talks about that band.
I was gonna say, there's some of your power pop stuff is like, okay, they could be like on tour with Hagfish right now, like not vocally, but like just
yeah, riff driven,
catchy riffs.
I would kill to tour with them if they ever did that again.
Yeah.
When they played Punk Rock Bowling, this is 2016 maybe 2017 2016. It was me and Ty from Broadway Calls up front, just smiling ear to ear, just because we're both massive Hagfish fans.
Ty, another great guy, a super cool dude, and their band is so good. Broadway Calls,
phenomenal. Also
they've gotten
worked with
so
Bill.
good.
Also worked with Bill on a few records.
I think doing those records made them a better band. I mean,
probably.
I mean, of course, anytime you spend time together in a studio, you almost can't help but get better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I was blown away by seeing Broadway Calls when we went and saw Bouncing Souls. They opened.
Oh, hell yeah.
Bouncing Souls, Adolescence, Broadway Calls.
What a good show.
Like, dude, it was fun.
Yeah, what a good lineup, dude.
Yeah. So Drowns, new record. It sounds really nice. It sounds really good.
Thank you. Yeah.
The tones, the guitar. I know you guys love your guitar tones, and having this thing and bust into this, and it really feels good. Feels great.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, man. I really appreciate that. Shout out to Colton from the Blasting Room. He and I got up early every day before Bill would show up to sit and nerd out on guitar tones. And I was real pushy in the beginning too. Like before I was friends with everybody, I was like, I'm gonna let you know, I'm gonna be a stickler about guitars, and I'm a huge, like on the record, I want the guitars. I was like, I have a sound in my head, and we're gonna figure it out together, and then we're gonna give it to Bill. And
there
like,
you go.
and they were on board, which was awesome. Bill was super into that idea too, and like let me and Colton kind of just blast it out every morning, and it was so much fun. But we blended a ton of amps, and like, you know, Jon Snodgrass.
Oh, of course.
So
who doesn't?
Yeah, you know, I knew the answer to that. I felt like I should say that.
Yeah.
Jon Snodgrass from Armchair Martian and Drag the River, and you know, basically a celebrity, like Fort Collins is a celebrity.
Yeah.
I love him to death, and he's such a sweet guy. And he just brought over guitars and amps and was like, try this, man. And like, I basically said, John, will you set up the amp how you do? And then we left it cranked, and that was one of the amps we used the whole time. And
right.
Yeah, shout out to Jon Snodgrass for helping us out. We had a lot of friends actually show up and help. Ray from Teenage Bottle Rocket came and sang some background vocals, and yeah, man, it was It was such a cool experience. It was such a dream experience for me, dude.
That's cool. And being in Fort Collins, you get the sort of those Colorado guys and Ray from, where's he?
I think he's Wyoming, but he's in Fort Collins.
Wyoming. Okay, he is in Fort. Yeah, I knew that. Man, that is so cool, man. And that's what it's all about, is having those experiences, those memories. It really puts a little time stamp on your album, on the songs.
Yeah.
At least for you. And I mean, you're doing it the right way. You're doing it. You're making real rock and roll records. What was how long did you take? A couple weeks or 3 weeks?
So we did it in 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
And I will say,
that's a lot of work.
We did like 16-hour days.
Okay.
Like, people probably think that's an exaggeration, but we barely slept. And we hit it every day. And like I said, I was getting up early with Colton at the blasting room to work on guitars, and then would go into vocals, and like, it was nonstop. But I'm used to that.
Yeah.
Like, we kind of like, we've traveled for records before, and done, like, we stayed in the studio too. So literally I walk to the other rooms,
Yeah.
which is always nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was nice to stay on site, and you don't have to pay for a hotel or anything like that. But we've made records with Ted Hutt in LA multiple times, and so we're kind of used to flying out and making albums that way. So we were really prepared, and my guys practice religiously. The three of us practice nonstop. That's always weird when a band member comes in to the band, like a new guy comes to play guitar or something, because we're very like, hey, we practice twice before we go on the road, because we all practice on our own nonstop. And so when we make a new record, we practice a couple times, and then we go make the record.
Really?
When we go on the road, we practice a couple of times.
Wow.
And we've always said, that's another thing. Like I was saying about when we started this band, we made these promises to each other. One of them was that we'll always stay on top of that. And it's shown in the past with like other guys who have joined us, or other guys who have just like been a hired gun to come on tour and play second guitar when he doesn't practice nearly as much. And you're like, damn it. Like, we know in that moment it's not going to work out.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is a bummer, but we all practice nonstop.
That is crazy. I'm actually blown away that you only practice twice or whatever before going out on a tour, or maybe that's doable once you're in the routine of it, but a new record, you have these new songs, you literally you kind of do it on your own and then come together for a couple practices. What's that?
I think we practiced 4 times total before this.
What?
Before
like we'd have like one song after 4 practices. Well, maybe 4 songs, but
well, we send songs to each other.
Yeah, okay.
And we all have home recording setups, and we send songs to each other, and we practice on our own. And the other thing is communication. We're very, we communicate about everything. So we'll be like, if there's something we don't like in the song, everybody knows it right away.
Okay.
Nothing is kept from anybody. Like, so it's always talked about, and we all have the same idea. And so, yeah, when we get together, we know our parts so well that the practices go pretty easy. Like, we just played with the Briefs the other day.
Yeah,
and
that looked great.
It was so much fun, man. It was sold out in Seattle, and the Briefs are one of my
those
favorite
guys
bands.
They're like, where do these guys come from? Like, what do they do when they're not doing shows? Because they look like they're like just the perfect rock and roll punk band,
Yeah. We played that show, and we hadn't played a show because we recorded. We hadn't played a show since November, and we practiced once, and then we just like played the show, and it was great, and we had a great time. But that's just because we religiously practice on our own.
I can see that, but it still blows me away the literally recording a record and kind of doing everything. Because maybe it's just because the way MxPx does it is so different. Like, we're like reiterating on the song and changing things in practice a lot. But you don't you'll do that out of practice on like a text thread, be like, hey, let's try this.
Yep.
Let's change this to this or whatever. You talk about it, and then you do it on your home setup.
Yep.
Send it out to everybody.
We've even done it in the past where we'll cut a part out or put a part in and send it, and then that whoever's doing that will do that work just so the other can hear it.
Right.
And then we respond to that. So we've gotten used to it at this point. 2020 kind of prepared us to be able to do that, as far as like we wrote an EP called Lunatics during like lockdown, and that in a way though set us up to be able to do it for the future.
That was the first time you kind of did it this far out.
We used to just write everything together, like you were saying, in the same room, and here's my ideas, But we also found that we were at least the three of us were able to develop our own parts easier and more to our liking and the best of our abilities if we could do it on our own.
Yeah, because you're not sitting. Somebody's not waiting for you to think about the part.
Exactly.
And they're like, "Dude, let's just play."
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not, at least speaking for myself, I'm not an improv guy. I'm not good at improving on guitar, and so I do need time to sit and think. And that's been great for me because then I can make a part that I know that I could be proud of. And everybody has their way to do it, but for us, it works really, really well. It is annoying if you want to tour with us and we're like, cool, 3 days, I will say that.
Yeah, you got to find what works for you. And I mean, MxPx, we honestly, our full length record, our self-titled in 2018, we spent like a year practicing those songs and just coming up with different parts and like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, we weren't playing a ton of shows. I guess we were doing shows in between, but that was too long. That was like, okay, let's streamline this a little bit. This is like, we're iterating too much where you're like, okay, how much difference are we really making?
You're like finding things to think about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So with this, we're working on a new record as well. And
awesome.
Everything came together just a lot quicker. Cool. But still, we're still doing it in practice where, me and Tom are usually who are disagreeing. He's on guitar and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to wait and bring this up next practice. Things like that, like I don't like what he wants to do.
I know exactly what you're talking about. There are certain things that I'll be like, I'm going to wait a day and then text it.
Yeah. It's so, I mean, that's life though. Like if you hit your boss at the wrong time, the answer's no, you can't get off. But if you hit them when they're happy, they're like, yeah, take the week off. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, there's definitely been times where like I know that one of the guys is like going to a show of a band they really like, or like,
oh right,
and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna ask him then.
This is the best life ever.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, speaking of shows, really quick, that we went and saw The Last Gang in Bremerton. Yeah. Man, I fucking love that band, and I feel like not enough people listen to that band.
Yeah, they don't have enough fans for sure. I mean, it's hard to play a Sunday. Was it a Monday or it was a Sunday? Sunday. But even though, I mean, even if you're a band that's touring all the time, like I feel like, way more people should just be automatically clued in to a band that is good. Like they're just, you look at them play, they all are shredders.
Every one of them.
At what they do, right?
Absolutely.
And being in a band as long as I have, I know the difference. Like, there's plenty of bands that are just like, okay, this is terrible.
Yeah. Or there's those bands where there's one member and nobody talks about how he's terrible.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, the band's really good.
Yeah.
As a whole.
The Last Gang, they're professional. It's obvious they've been touring around and playing and they're great. So
yeah, and they got great songs, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and Brenna's voice is
it's perfect.
So good.
It's perfect, and they're and they're also great people. They're really, really great people, and I would love to see them keep doing what they're doing for as long as they can because I fucking love it.
Yeah, you got to find that balance, however you can make life work.
Yeah.
And do what you love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As Atmosphere said, I got to find a balance. I'm trying to build a palace.
Yeah. Whatever that palace is, hopefully not chocolate.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right. Well, I mean, here we are, 2026. We're just trying to do what we love.
Yeah.
And always trying to bring positivity. You guys are a pretty tough sounding band, but it's always about unity. It's always about keeping people together. That's what I feel like when I listen to your music. And when I think about your live shows.
Yeah.
So how do you see the Drowns? Do you feel like this is where you're meant to be? Do you have plans for a palace? I mean,
no. You know what? I have a house in Port Orchard.
That's the palace.
And that's my palace.
Yeah.
I have a beautiful, incredible wife and 2 awesome dogs. I had 3. Shout out to Nigel, who just passed.
R.I.P. Nigel.
20 years old. But I'm happy with that part of my life, and I don't think I could get any better, right? So the only thing for me to think about is that my music is my life's work, whether it makes me money or not. Like we talked about earlier, to bring it full circle, music is my life's work. And the Drowns is a band that if you could have asked me back in the day what my dream band would have been, it would have been this. A band that tours all over the world. And, I love aggressive music, obviously. So there are those elements. But The Clash is the reason why everything in my life started to go this route. And I've always wanted to pay tribute to that, consciously or subconsciously. Like it's always been there. I've wanted to take a good message around the world and always be cool to people, go out in the crowds and not hang out backstage, and like just be a guy who talks to people about their lives. And I've been able to do that. So at this point, my only goal is to just keep doing that. And when you ask, it's I think we probably look aggressive to people who aren't specifically into punk or street punk, right?
Right.
Especially like if they see some of our videos or they see us live, and sometimes they see our crowd. We have a tough looking crowd sometimes, right? And so I don't want to think that's a deterrent. I like to think that then when they hear the songs lyrically or they meet us, they get it. And we do have tough looking exteriors. It's kind of a part of who we are as people, all of us, But I want to hear about your life when someone says hi to me. You know what I mean? Like I love having those conversations, and we have a great fan base from all over the world who are incredibly caring and sweet, and people just like us who are just trying to kind of push through their day to day. And that's who I sing to. You know what I mean? Like, I don't sing to millionaires, and I don't sing to cool people in Nashville. I don't sing to people. Like I sing to the people who are working a shit job because they have stuff they have to pay for. Yeah. Or people who are fighting because they have medical bills. That's a real struggle. You know what I mean? And those are the people I sing for and to, because I'm one of those people. My parents are those people. That's when I think of the Drowns, that's what I think of. I don't want to say like a working class band.
That's beautiful.
But you know what I mean? It's what it is. It's a band for the common person because that's who we are.
I think you nailed it with this whole thing, because the fact that you realize you're not working towards something, you have something that we're working on together, which is making everybody's life more livable and doing what we love. And some people love going out to see shows, and we love doing shows and going out to see shows. So we have our own little beehive, for sure, as humans. And the more people like you I talk to, the more the less worried I am, for sure. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, there are plenty of people out here that are they're focusing on the right things. They're not trying to. When you pick up social media, that's most of that stuff is focused on most of the wrong things,
Absolutely.
And so I guess what I'm saying is you're right on. Your palace is right here in Port Orchard, Washington, and your palace is the Drowns. And whatever you do in music and whatever you do with your community of people that you meet along the way, and I love that.
Yeah, well, thank you, dude. Thank you for saying that. And, I've just been fortunate, and I don't ever want that to be lost on me either. I want to be a guy who's always appreciative of the things I get. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
I just, like we just talked about, I just recorded with a guy I've looked up to for the majority of my life, right? Like, I have a Descendants tattoo I've had it was one of my first ones. Like, it was, and I have Black Flag bars, Bill was in Black Flag. Yeah. It's like, it's one of those, like, that's not lost on me that I got to do that. And I don't ever want to lose that love for it. I don't ever want to lose that humbleness. I'm not trying to call myself humble, but the idea that like I do go like, I appreciate this, and I appreciate that I am allowed to have these opportunities. And I mean that also when I meet people who like my art. Mm-hmm. That's also it's a massive blessing.
I always think about like people that are just going about their day that don't have the outlet that we have as songwriters, as artists, as performers on stage.
Yeah.
And to get the feedback from some random stranger, it's such a positive thing. And
I've never thought about it like that, but that's a really good point.
Yeah, we get so much from people.
Wow.
I can only give back as much as I can, and listen to their story if I can. But like, keep going, keep writing those songs, keep performing, because not everybody has that opportunity. So once you get that, don't mess it up.
Yeah, well, and I didn't think about that. You made a good point there, to where it's like a lot of those people don't have the outlet we have creatively, and it is like they're still liking it, even though they're not the ones like working their asses off to make it, and that's huge, man.
That's huge.
Yeah, my good friend Kai Hillig, who I was in a band with years ago, once said to me, he's like, if people don't people need water and food to survive. They don't need art. It helps, but they don't need it. So if anyone buys yours, you should be appreciative.
yeah.
And I've said that
so true.
for the majority of my career now, to where I'm like, yeah, I owe them everything that, and I don't mean financially, like literally, like they keep me going because they're listening to what I do, you know?
Yeah.
Which is huge. And it's also afforded me tons of other opportunities. I mean, you know, you and I are talking here and we're having a good time. And this is like a cool thing I got through rock and roll, you know?
Yeah.
It's just having you as a friend. Like I have a podcast now that I do for Goldmine Magazine where we talk about collecting vinyl. It's called The Dollar Bin. And on that, I just got that because I went record shopping with a guy who was a fan of our band. And he's like, oh, by the way, Goldmine Magazine, I write for them. Would you want to talk on our podcast? And then they ended up giving me my own where we talk about record collecting. And that only came about because I'm not a wiener.
Yeah.
and because I still love what I do. And that's a big one too. Is like, just don't
Clip that.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's true though. It's like just
so true.
So many bands when they ask me about how to like get more people into their band, I always tell them the same thing, and they never listen. They never do.
Yeah.
I say two things. I say, quit everything in your life and get on the road forever. Just keep playing nonstop, and things will show up. And I say, don't fuck anyone.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
In any way.
Valid.
Unless it's,
unless it's consensual.
Consensual.
But just be nice to everybody. Do you know, I mean,
Right.
You're very complimentary about my guitar skills, but I think me being a nice guy has gotten me more opportunities.
Right.
Life.
Right. I would have been paying way more attention when you're playing live if you were a dick.
Yeah.
Like, what's this guy doing?
Yeah.
But it all looks good to me. God, I don't even remember what I was going to say, but
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're riffing.
Yeah.
Well, we could though. That's the thing. That was like it's so cool to be able to even just talk about the fact that we make art. Isn't that a crazy thought? Like you and I make art for a living.
It is kind of dumb
How
in a lot of ways.
How crazy is that?
I do the same thing I started doing, when I was in, I started writing songs maybe in junior high. Mm. So, I mean, since I was in junior high school and now I'm a full adult person, still doing kid things.
Yeah. Being
an adult kid. It's silly because people don't really take what we do as a real profession. It's like not a real job. You're an artist, you're a singer, you're a punk, you're in a band.
Especially in the United States.
Especially if you're in a band. Like if you're an artist, maybe they give you a little respect, but if you're in a band, you hang out with other dudes or chicks or whatever.
Dude, yeah, I always like to explain like, when we go to Europe, people are like, oh, you're in a band. Oh, that's so cool. Like, thank you for coming here. And when we're here, if I'm in a band, people are like, oh, that's cool. My brother's in a band.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like, that's the end of the thought. And I'm like, no, I make a living doing this. And they're like, yeah, that's great.
Right, yeah. I always think of it this way. When I'm in some random city and I'm at the restaurant or the gas station, I'm like, I'm sure these people have a great life, but we have no idea what they're doing, and they have no idea what I'm doing. We're just passing. We're like ships passing in the night, and I always try to even be cool to those random people that you interact with that are working the gas station, that are working the restaurant. I always treat them with the most respect because they need inspiration to get out there and do something.
Yeah, and man, that's the truth though. Like I think that comes from being from a smaller town too.
Maybe, yeah.
At least for me, like, being from Enumclaw, my mom, she just retired, from working like 30 years at Safeway as a checker. And she has countless stories about people who were insanely shitty to her. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then she has a few stories about people who she loved seeing just because they were nice to her, because a lot of people weren't. And I think that's something to remember too. It's like, you and I can write a great song that can change somebody's life, or you can make somebody's day better and they could change their own life.
Yeah.
And anybody has that power. And that sounds like some hippie shit, but it's unfortunately the truth too. It's like, I'm in the same boat. And the Drowns, we're real big on that. Like, we've given merch to any venue staff of any show we've ever played. We always offer it. If anybody works that night, they're going to have shirts or records, and we cover the cost. And we've done that since day one. And that's because they're working, more often than not, they're working harder than us that day. And we think the concept for us is like we're gonna catch a few of them that are having a shitty day and be like, hey man, you want a shirt or a record? Like on us, no problem, and maybe make their day a little bit better, you know. And that's always been the focus. We do that as like, you know, gas station attendants, the guys who work. We were in Sioux Falls and our van broke down last year, and the dealership were cool as shit. So Sioux Falls Ford, I believe, was the full name of the dealership, but we just went in there and they were like, you guys are in a band. And we broed down with them so hard, and they worked super hard to get our van back on the road so we could make our next show and not miss anything. And if we were dicks, that wouldn't have happened.
Absolutely.
That's so the truth, man.
We've got a couple dealership stories too, but I won't go into them. We've had on tour with Rancid. Yeah, I mean, no. It's just on tour with Rancid, getting towed to a dealership, still making the show, but being late. So we had to like go on a different spot. Yeah, it's stupid stuff.
I hate that kind of shit.
And then you get home. I had the van for 2 weeks. Somebody rammed into the side of the van. I was like, damn it.
Oh man, hey,
things like that. That's real life, though.
So can I interview you for a second, and you can cut this out?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
I got a question I've always wanted to ask you. So I obviously like I love a lot of your records. Like I've been a fan for years, but why do I love Slowly Going in the Way of the Buffalo so much?
That is a good question, because we didn't do great on the marketing. It's just so weird, so different, so left field. But maybe that was part of it.
And to be fair, I like a lot of your albums, but that one stuck with me for years. I can recall any song on that record right now. Like it's such a good album, and I feel like it never got its just dues.
Yeah, it went gold. But,
never mind. That's fine. That's pretty good.
So it did all right. Yeah, but
the fuck do I know?
But I don't know. It's a weird. It's like the AC/DC of punk rock, and I think maybe that's why you personally really liked it, because you really like the simplicity of great guitar tones, being able to hear everything, which is an AC/DC thing for sure.
Yeah.
We cut out all the drum fills, all the nonsense. It was all just point A, point B, maybe a departure to C every now and again, and then back. I don't know. That was Steve Kravac. He was like, no more drum fills, like ever. Only because it was easier to keep us in time.
Okay, I get that, but that is kind of crazy. Like, you know, we don't have to go into it, but working with producers, that's its own beast.
Yeah.
And like, it is crazy when they've got like one thing. Like Ted Hutt was against pick slides, and I was like, I play in a punk band. You got to let me do one. And he was like, absolutely not.
You have to let them. Yeah, you have to do pick slides.
But no drum fills. That is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Did it work? Did it feel like it worked to keep you guys in time?
Yeah. I mean,
Yuri's a great drummer.
That was our second record, partially with Click. I think Life in General wasn't all to a Click.
Okay.
Part of it was. And then Buffalo was all to a Click, which we did not know how to do. So
that was the first one.
That was our first, like, really try to, like, stay on the Click and straighten all the songs out. So they're like, dun, dun, dun. I think also just songwriting-wise, I was getting into the basics of songwriting a little bit more and less concerned about, let's get this crazy punk part and do this stop and do this change and do. We still did that, but it was just simplified.
I guess that's a good point. I never really thought about it like that. It does seem like a more, and not negatively, but a simpler record as far as how many elements are involved.
Yeah.
It's just such a good album. I've always wanted to ask you that, like why that one seems to set aside for me mentally. And you continue to write great records, but holy shit, man, I love that album. Also the cover too. It's so plain.
I know, right?
And I mean that in the best way possible. I like love that. And it doesn't look like another MxPx record, you know?
Yeah.
It's so different.
It is weird like that, right? Like at the time, it probably didn't help people like just buy it. You know, when you buy something, you don't even know what it is. You're like, this is cool. Like Megadeth records, you know, they have
Boogada. I bought it because the Weasel.
Yeah. That's a great record. Although I don't think I actually had. I think I had like a dupe of it.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't know what the cover looked like, but
nice.
That was like all Descendants, all Black Flag. I never had the actual. I had like maybe a Black Flag 7-inch, but I always had a burned CD or a tape. Back then it was tape.
Yeah, I had a lot of bootlegs
Cassettes.
too as a kid.
Yeah.
Like I had a shit ton of like bootlegs, and then when Napster showed up, you know, that was crazy because there was, you know, you're playing with Goldfinger, and I remember getting like tons of Real Big Fish songs that were labeled Goldfinger,
right,
and vice versa.
Yeah, and
because it was the Wild West of sharing music back then.
Yeah, and nobody knew that, like, oh, it could just be labeled wrong. Like, you see something labeled, you're like, that's what it is. No, it's right there.
Yeah, you're like, Goldfinger covered Take On Me? That's so cool.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wild times.
Yeah.
But here we are. Decade later, 2 decades later, vinyl it's not as big as it was 10 years ago, but it's still doing well.
I mean, that's how we pay our bills.
Yeah.
I mean, t-shirts too, obviously, but vinyls, like, that's kind of the rock and roll thing and the big riff thing, like you're talking about, that I love so much. That does, a lot of people who enjoy that same stuff are vinyl collectors. Mm-hmm. So that's it's
it kind of comes together.
It really does. Yeah. And you know, I like, my parents were vinyl collectors, and so it comes full circle for me too. It's like, it's cool to, I don't know, man. I'm an old soul. I just the other day I bought like an old Elvis 7-inch that was all scratched up and shitty just to see if it was still playable, and it's great. But I still love the process of taking records out and putting them on a record player. Mm-hmm. I love it. I do that, you know, like, to relax.
That's a meditation.
Yeah, and I still fucking love it, man. Which has been cool about that podcast is it's been cool to talk about, like, kind of nerd out with people who just fucking love collecting vinyl, and a lot worse than me, like people who, like, you know, have like 70,000 records and stuff.
Yeah, you should have Tom Wisniewski on, because he is way more of a nerd about vinyl than I am.
Really?
I love vinyl, I love records, I love music, but he is like, every time he can go, he'll just Uber to a record store wherever we are.
Yeah, I would love to.
Whereas I'm like, show.
Yeah.
If there's a record store right there, I'll go. But like, he'll literally go across town.
Oh yeah, I'll have to have him on.
Yeah.
It's fun. I applaud you for having done it for, what is it, 10 years now? Is that you've been doing podcasting?
A little over, yeah.
That is crazy. Like, it seems like a lot of work, and I've done 20 episodes. You know what I mean?
It's a lot of work. The easiest part about it is honestly talking once you're going. It's not that it's always easy, but it's the schedule of it and the editing of it. I'm sure you know. Do you edit yourself, or do you just send the files out?
So I have been sending it out to Goldmine, and I will be editing my own now. Yeah.
There you go.
Now that I have my own, like, home studio and stuff now, like, I'm able to do that. Shout out to my wife for allowing me to have a home studio.
Yes.
We were just talking about that before we turned the cameras on. But
it's like your sewing room.
Dude, it is. It really is. Like, I also collect VHS tapes because I'm a nerd, and so I will put on a movie in an old, like, shitty 13-inch TV, and my room is all soundproofed, and I will just close off from the world, and it's a beautiful thing.
That's cool.
It may affect my music in the future because I've never had this much isolated space to just create. So
I want to see the setup when is it done? Is it?
It's getting there.
It's getting there.
It's real close. Yeah.
All right.
I will have you over to check it out. Yeah. It's fucking cool. It's just to be able to, like, have my own space to create is really cool because I've never really had that before. Not that it's ever been a problem. You know, living room's a living room. That's fine. But it's cool to have, like, a space where, like, when I'm in here, this is what I do, and I've never had that before. I feel very very fortunate to have that.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, man.
I mean, it's everything.
Yeah, it's huge.
Having this space. I mean, I'm so privileged to have a studio, and we don't even need to go into it, people. Just keep working hard. You're gonna be fine.
Seriously. Whatever art you make, dude, you got to just devote everything you have to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to give it, like, we were talking about advice to bands, and we've talked about that a lot, but it's like, so many bands I've been like, well, then just quit everything and go. And they're like, how do you do that? I'm like, well, I don't know how to not.
Yeah.
And I think find that.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, you look at athletes that are pro athletes, they have spent probably most of their young lives in the programs, the sports programs, every week in, week out, off-season training, rehabbing injuries. And honestly, it's no different for an artist. Is you just always have to be a self-starter. It's actually probably harder because we don't have coaches that are like, hey, get out there, make it happen, you know, this, giving you the constant life advice, encouragement that you need as a human and as somebody that's putting themselves out there. Musicians, artists, they have people that want to take their money most of the time.
Tons of them.
And a coach, doesn't need the athlete's money. You know,
Yeah.
the coach is getting paid already. That's such a weird dynamic. I mean, we could keep going on and on about that.
It's
but
also
geez.
it's also a more welcomed thing. You know, like being a sports star is more of a welcomed idea in American culture than being in a band.
Yeah.
You know, there's
Yeah.
probably a lot of parents who would just be happy that their kid went to college to play sports
Mm-hmm.
instead of going on tour for, 5 years. It's like, it's just more common for people to be okay with that. And so we definitely get a lot less support. But in the same sense, play devil's advocate, maybe that's what motivates us, is because nobody wants to help.
Yeah.
You know?
And as always, like we were talking about earlier, there's always somebody doing better. There's always somebody that has a better situation, an easier situation, has a coach, whatever it is, and a manager isn't necessarily a coach, but if you get the right person that can see outside what you're doing in a good way, that's great to have, and I encourage those relationships for sure.
I think we should add to that, struggle's relative too. So I know like some of those large bands I was speaking of earlier that I've worked for, some of those guys have more money than I'll ever know and are miserable.
Right.
And so struggle is relative to your own situation. And so I think keeping a smaller view of your own life like that, like, just staying focused and having something to focus on like art kind of keeps you from worrying about too much of the other shit that you could definitely spend all day worrying about. At least that's the way it works for me.
I think so. Seattle Seahawks are a great example. Like so much negativity towards them all season. I'm going to toot my own horn. I said it after like 4 or 5 games. They're going to the playoffs. Yep. They could win the Super Bowl, and look what happened. But that wasn't most people. Most people were like, Darnold's going to choke, blah, blah, blah. No. Like, there's going to be injuries, all this. You got to just ignore all that and just do what you came to do, what you set yourself up to do. And I think it's no different for the Drowns. It's no different for MxPx. You just find your path and go for it.
And surround yourself with good people.
Oh, yeah,
That's
for
a
sure.
big one.
Absolutely.
Like when Chris started working with you guys, I was like, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, Chris is awesome.
He's such a great guy, and he's a great player, but that just made sense. It's just like, we find our own.
He's a great example of he prepares.
Yeah.
So, like, he does the work that we all try to do. You know what I mean? So it's so important to find people that are not, it doesn't even have to be fully like-minded, but there has to be some of that. There has to be some like-mindedness. There has to be that work ethic, and it doesn't matter what you're doing in life.
Yeah.
People that are self-starters, people that will do what they say they're going to do are priceless.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then like we talked about too, it's like people who treat everybody good. Everybody. The guy at the gas station, the lady serving you your breakfast. Like I try to surround myself with people who treat those people good. I don't know the quote. There's some famous quote about like, knowing, like, you'll truly know someone by how they treat the help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like by how they treat like the people who wait on them or the people who work at the hotel. And I think that's really, really fucking true. It's very telling how you how you talk to people who are just doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
And we've definitely, like, I've had issues in the past where I've seen somebody treat people who are just going through their day of work like shit, and I'm like, well, you don't need to be in my life anymore. Because it's just, I don't know, it's a waste of time, dude. It's a waste of fucking time.
Yeah.
We're all headed towards the sun. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
it's a matter of time. And like, people probably heard me say this before, but you can write the best songs in the world, you can make the best art, or you can be the best actor. But if you're an asshole, you died an asshole. And people are always going to remember that you were an asshole.
Yeah.
And I don't want that for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want people to remember I was a good guy who happened to write good songs.
Hey, man, you're on the right track. Absolutely.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Great guy, great band, great songwriter. Thanks for being part of the podcast, being part of the community.
Yeah,
Love
of course, man. Thank you, dude. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Absolutely. For sure.
All right, awesome.
All right, peace. All right, thank you so much for taking the time. Thanks for being part of this whole journey. Thanks to my guest that is gone, the Rev. Appreciate you, my friend. Make sure you guys check out The Drowns. They've got three albums out from the studio. They've got a live album. They have a new album coming in the fall. It's going to be awesome. MxPx.com, of course. Check out all our tour dates. Check out all our merch in the store there. Would appreciate that. All right, Bob McKnight, thanks for producing. Thanks for being part of this community. And all of you at home, at work, wherever you are traveling, thanks for listening.